Hello, I wanted to give a few updates to the channel before the video started. Just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be doing a few more videos on the channel from now on. That including the Pine Pot podcast like today, and in the future there will be different videos such as gameplay videos, maybe I may record some videos and different things like that. I just want to try to get a few more things out on the channel rather than just doing streams. Alright, I'll let you guys now get to the Pine Pot podcast. Media is pretty big these days. Between movies, TV shows, anime, news, media is everywhere and it affects us on a day-to-day basis in both positive and negative ways. And on today's video, I wanted to take a look at that and how it affected both me and a few of my friends, including you guys, which I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below after the video is ended. But for now, allow me to introduce the guest for today's video. My first guest is, you guys know him well. He is the guy who has faced death, said no and came back, and now he is my unsent guardian. Give it up for Zeke.
Wait, faced death, said no. Oh, I guess, yeah, I would be a spirit. Hey guys, it's Zeke.
Oh my god. Yes, you are literally an unsent at this point.
I mean, I feel like I'm dead every day anyway, so yeah.
And as my other guest, you guys know her well. She is pretty much the best artist on the channel. Give it up for, as you guys know her, my wife, Dee Locks.
Hello, I'm here.
Now, I don't know. I think my stick figure art's pretty good.
I mean, he's right. I'm a pretty bad artist. I really don't know what I'm doing.
Nah. Well, I have seen his stick figure art, but I don't think that. Actually, maybe one day we'll talk about that and we'll compare artwork together. But and let's keep our focus on media. So I think I want to start off with you, Zeke. Can you tell us a little bit about forms of media that has impacted you in your life?
Media. That's everything and everywhere. Basically...
Well, at least media that has impacted you greatly.
Well, let's start off with something that I'm known for on the channel. Final Fantasy. Video games are a form of storytelling, and you can you can compare that. Wow, I'm sorry, I cannot speak today. You can compare that to being media, video games. And one of the most influential things for me itself was the composer Nobuo Uematsu. Mm-hmm. He made me fall in love with music to the point where I am today. I'm constantly trying to learn new instruments, write new music, and everything like that. That was one of the heaviest media impacts on me. And yet, we're going to jump over to another idea, which is just this. We're recording this through Discord.
Yeah.
And that's a form of media. It's something we can communicate with back and forth. And as someone like myself, who just goes insane if he's not talking to someone, Discord is certainly a huge impact. It allows me to talk with people in Japan and be able to keep relationships with people anywhere.
Yeah, I can definitely get that. Keeping in contact with people is it's like something that is like really important. And I think that Discord and like other things such as Skype and everything like that has definitely grew a lot in terms of being able to keep us all connected. And was there anything else that you wanted to say with media that's affected you, or in terms of like a wide scope? Because later on we're going to talk about specific pieces of media that has affected us.
So I say I lived a privileged life with a little bit of difficulty. I hope that's a decent way to say it.
Yeah.
Things can really not be great. As we said in the opening, I faced death and said, no, you know what? Nah, Well, I'll go away. And one of the
This
things
man's
that really
a
helped me
savage,
through
just so
that-
you guys know. This guy has looked death in the face, said, no, I'm staying, and then turned his back. Came back, faced it again, said no, and came back again. This man is actually just an
I'm
unsent.
pretty sure I'm just immortal at this point. let's
Pretty
be honest.
much.
Gosh.
Sorry for interrupting you.
So, like I was saying, Nobuo Uematsu, he was a huge standing point for me as a child. I fell in love with his art, his music, and that's basically what I studied. It's a lot of where my inspiration in the music that I write comes in. Will it ever be released? I doubt it. I have way too much. I have way too little self-esteem for that. But
Oh, you should definitely try it.
it can be something that can give you hope when you feel like there isn't any. And I didn't want to give up because there was so much music out there, as well as a few other things, that I kept fighting. And I kept fighting and I kept fighting just to be here today. Every night I go to sleep with that music just to help me have calm and peace and things like that.
I think I can resonate with you there. Like, I can feel like I have, like, you know, similar, like, not exactly the similar, but similar background to you in terms of that specifically. But in contrast with you, where the form of media that helped you get past it was the music. For me, it was the characters that helped me get past that. The characters in the media, the people that I saw, being able to see the people that I relate to, and also the people that I wanted to be. It kind of more or less gave me a drive as well. And that, you know, the different shows that I would watch, or the different movies that I would watch, or the different games that I would play, it would definitely be a driving factor for me, and it more or less molded me into who I am. Didi, is there any forms of media that's affected you greatly?
Well, video games to be one, for one thing. Art, since I'm an artist. I mean, like, for artists in general, we're always affected by the media around us. We're always trying to express whatever is relevant, or even if it's not relevant, anything that's relevant per se to us. So it could be anything from race to gender to, you know, the environment.
No, you can keep going.
Oh, okay. And then, like, being an artist, I mean, I'm also a media creator, because I do animation and I do character design, so I'm constantly producing some form of media, whether it's mostly it's just entertainment based media is what I produce. So I mean, I'm kind of affected by literally all types of media, but definitely like video games have been like the one thing that has kind of really kind of opened my eyes, I guess, to like the world, you know, and made me somewhat less awkward.
Yeah, I definitely know that. All right, at least I relate to that. Is there any artists that inspired you? Like any artists that inspired you to be able to go down this path towards being an artist? Or what inspired you, if it wasn't that?
I'd say like the artists that have really inspired me, some of the people who did like some of the classic animations like Tex Avery, Bob Clampett, those kind of guys. Glenn Keane, he's a big name. There's also the guy who created both Powerpuff Girls, which is one of the first shows that I watched as a kid, where it was just all about girls and like girl power, and that was Craig McCracken. And then of course like a lot of anime, like I can't even name the artists for like the anime that I used to watch. But a lot of my style is influenced by both Western and Eastern animation styles. But yeah, that's kind of like the people's.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Still, like, Like even like you can be affected by media from like or like from forms of media from like completely other side of the world. Like media, it can be you can be affected by what's around you, but you can also be affected by things that are like far away from you, depending on how like willing you are to like look for it. So there's no guarantee that you're gonna only be experiencing certain things because of where you are. You can experience anything depending on where you are, and that's still also like something very interesting that we can be affected by so much in this world. There's so many factors that can make us into who we are, but we just don't know like from the get-go what's going to be the factor. You could have somebody who's born into a very noble and successful household, but then they can be influenced by like media from MTV and different things like that. So we don't really know.
There's nothing wrong with MTV.
I never said there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that anybody can be influenced by anything, just depending on how willing you are to look for it. There's no like set path in terms of like what we will enjoy. Everybody enjoys their own separate thing.
Entirely. And I know I have a fairly vanilla taste of music in that as much as I appreciate vocalized lyrical music, I have such a focus on concert hall kind of thing, and video games kind of give me that. Just trying to pull it into music again, video games give me that. You can appreciate this for how you interpret it over. This is how the artist wants you to see it. These are the lyrics, and yes, there's still lyrical musics that come into interpretation. I apologize I can't drop names because I didn't have the time to pull up my list of names, and my memory is terrible.
Yeah, his memory
anyone who has ever met me has known.
Yeah, his memory is not the best, but continue on.
You can learn so much and appreciate so much. This is why music is my primary focus. Video games, story, I love all of that. I've been heard on the stream alone about 1,000 times saying, you know what, Final Fantasy X was a great game with really interesting story elements. But I love the idea of anyone can interpret something however they want to.
Yeah, that is
which is very much like art, and I really love art for that reason. I just know I have no skill in it, so I focus more on music. It's a very powerful thing that I create this huge symphony, and to me, I can envision myself riding on horseback into battle, but someone else can be, I'm in the garden and I'm being attacked by a bee, fled the bumblebee, blah 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 blah. It's however anyone can envision it. As you close your eyes and you breathe in and you listen to this, it's your own interpretation, and that's my favorite thing about that medium in and of itself.
Now, I do have a question for you guys, though. Now, when it comes to interpreting media as well, what do you think about if the meaning or the interpretation of the media when it comes to the person who's created the media? So, like, for instance, if somebody is the composer for some music, would you say that the way that they interpret the song is correct, or would you say it's dependent on who the consumer is that makes it correct?
That's a really good question. I would probably have to say media, with interpretation, we're not thinking mass media like news channels, that kind of thing, because we're telling you we're telling you this, we're telling you that.
Yeah.
Whether however you see it, that's your decision. However you see it.
Yeah. At that point, if it's coming from the news, it's mostly just fact, unless it's bias. But
exactly.
But when it comes to something like as a song or a game or a message, that can be interpreted many different ways. But at the same time, what the correct way to be
is the wrong term to use here. And here's my logic why, and tell me if you agree with this or not.
All right.
But when you put something out like that, like, I'm going to create this beautiful tapestry of 6 Campbell's tomato soup cans in the same painting with a white background. I'm putting it out there for everyone to see and figure out why I did it in my own way. I really like tomato soup cans. But to someone who's looking at it, they could go, this is about nourishment or something like that. And they're completely right.
I have to
I may believe it's just, I like tomato soup. But in my opinion, they're completely right because it's their interpretation.
What'd you say, Didi?
I was saying that I agree. Sorry, don't mean to cut anybody out, but
It's all right.
Yeah, like, I agree because, like, so me, I do like animation and stuff, and 95% of the time, the reason I do an animation or like choose a dialogue to animate to or emotion is because, hey, this would be funny. And if someone comes along and interprets that as like, oh, this is some kind of expressionist work as to the destruction of humanity, I'm gonna be like, okay, sure. I mean, whatever you want to say. But for me, the reason I did this is because I wanted to do something funny and stupid with this animation, and this is what I did. Hello, here you go, goodbye, And so I think when it comes to, like, I think that whole idea of, like, is the artist's interpretation correct? To be honest, I feel like as an artist, our interpretation is really just us expressing what we do or do not like. So it's a little less of it's a little less of an interpretation. Like, okay, like, we could be interpreting, the form of a tree, and like it becomes like some tree monster or something. It's like, oh, I saw this tree and I interpreted it as a tree monster, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like how Ziki said with music, it's like, someone could see that same tree and be like, oh, it's like some flying gazelle, jumping through the forest, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, our interpretation is, for one, completely biased. It's just, oh, I saw this and I made it. And if someone interprets my art as something else, then I mean, it's like, okay, that's how they saw this theme or this motion or this color, and this is how they perceive it in their mind. And that's perfectly legitimate. I mean, it's perfectly legitimate for them to see it that way.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that. I actually even have a personal experience with that pretty much same exact scenario. So where, if you guys remember, back on this channel when I put out the video Burnt Egg, I originally made that video with the intention of it to have 0 meaning. I didn't intend for it to have any meaning when I made the video. But when I presented it to my class, they was finding so many different meanings that it made me think, maybe I should see what other people saw in the video, which is why I asked people when I put out the video, what did they see in the egg, or what did they think the egg represented. So where, when I was making the video, I had never even seen any meaning because I was making it with the intention of it just being a bunch of random things happening. But then everybody saw it as a cycle of birth, death, and reincarnation. I was like, I've never seen this. So at that point, I kind of think that for an artist or a composer or whatever, being able to see how other people interpret your art can also be another perspective on what you've done as well. So where maybe what you saw wasn't exactly the best way of seeing it. Either that, or that there's just so many other ways for you to be able to interpret what you've done, and that nobody else is going to see it the way that you saw it. Whereas I saw it as absolutely nothing. Many other people saw it as something completely different. And that's actually a really interesting thing, that so many people can see things as different, and at the same time, everybody can be right. Because in the end, it's not really hard for anybody to be wrong when interpreting art that's not factual based. Like unless it's like a complete fact and it's more or less up to interpretation, anybody can be right. But moving on to our next topic that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about more specifically forms of media, or not forms of media, but specific pieces of media that's affected us personally. This could be like a personal in terms of it helped you to be able to grow confidence. It could be to where it helped you to define another personality trait. It could have helped you to overcome something, or it could have been to anything else like that. So let's start with you, Didi. What do you think are a few pieces of media that's personally affected you?
Let's see. There's television, obviously, because I grew up like most of us. Like I'm pretty sure all of us grew up during the time where it was like you either watch TV or you went outside. There was no like in between, or I guess like play video games, but I guess that could be under TV. But it's just you either watch TV or you go outside. So I spent a good portion of my childhood in front of the TV watching cartoons or watching whatever was on that my parents were watching. Video games, of course. I've already said that again. One piece of media that has really affected me is music, like Zeke, and because I'm pretty sure we all had our phase in middle school where it's like, oh, I hate the world, everything. I'm depressed. I'm so
come
emo.
on, that can still go for some people.
I'm so emo. Oh my gosh.
I mean, there are some people around now that's still in that phase.
And, I was kind of in that phase to a point of the music that I listened to really affected, like, how I saw the world and just, like, how I saw myself, In middle school, I was like the fat girl, pretty much. I was super awkward. I was like super nice, so all the teachers liked me, and for that, all of the other students did not like me.
I know that feeling.
Because
Captain Robotics team.
Exactly, like
because
it's like, oh, it's just, you never get in trouble for doing things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And for most of the time in middle school, I was called a white girl, even though I'm black.
That's actually kind of funny. My mom was actually called the same thing.
Yeah, and it was all just because of the way I spoke. It's like, I'm sorry that I don't speak in the typical black vernacular. It's
and
like,
that's
not my fault.
That's actually
just,
so
this
funny.
Is
like
how I am,
Speaking more proper will make people call you that say that you don't speak black, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm just speaking right.
It's like I'm speaking like I went to school and I got an education.
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand. But anyway, so during a lot of that time, I retreated into music. A lot of My Chemical Romance, Linkin Park, all that kind of stuff.
Was that just every teenager?
I think it was just every teenager.
Those songs, like those bands, MCR, Linkin Park, Green Day, I think that was just every teenager.
Because it just spoke to me in a way that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how I feel if my feelings were a song. And it really helped me. It really did help, because it was like, it helped me figure out a way to, help pretty much encourage me to find ways to express myself, not just kind of keep everything inside, which is what I would do, which is what I still kind of do now, is I kind of keep things inside. I don't want to burden people with my problems, I feel like I'm complaining if I say too much. So it kind of brought me out into the world and kind of made it okay for me to be like, you can tell people when things are wrong. It's like, Linkin Park said you don't want to be numb and all that stuff. So.
Oh, rest in peace, Chester. We all miss you.
I know, right? Yeah. Like, that was a sad day.
Sure.
I was talking with my friend. I don't know if she wants me to use her name, so I won't. We'll call her Cupcake.
All right, Cupcake.
I was talking with my friend Cupcake, and I had said, not realizing that she was in work at the time, Chester passed away today, and she was very, very distraught the entire day, and then I talked to her later that day. She's just like, I'm not talking to you, you made me cry at work, we're done here right now. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It was a very, very sad day for us all.
And I mean, if you even just look at the reactions people had to Chester's death, I mean, you can see how much his creations affected all of us. Yeah. And you can just see how powerful media can be. I mean, this one guy who I'm pretty sure none of us have ever met in our whole lives have this much effect on us, where it's like we found out that he died, that he committed suicide. And for us, a lot of his songs kind of most likely kept us away from those things, kept us away from self-harm. So, I mean, just to kind of see that effect is really powerful, that he could have that much influence in our lives.
And that's the power of music. That's the power of media. I can't tell you how many days I suffer from chronic, terrible panic attacks. Don't get me wrong, they're horrible. And there are very few ways to calm me down, and when it's late enough at night, I'm not going to make other people try and calm me down, which is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I have a form of PTSD, and basically I just refused to tell people for a while. And I had the horrible, horrible panic attack, which at that point I'm supposed to call someone, but it's 3 a.m. I'm not going to call anyone. And boy, I don't want to annoy my therapist. So I tying it back, I put on Nobu. I just had a speaker. I was able to calm myself down enough to be able to do that. I can't tell you how powerful it was. It was still a rough night. Like, don't get me wrong. Music isn't a cure-all. It certainly can help, but it will not fix all your problems. And it really probably helped me from making a really, really stupid decision that night. Being able to listen, I was still in a rough spot. Don't get me wrong, but I know I didn't make a stupid decision because I had something that has always been such a constant for me going.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't make any bad decisions that night.
Yes.
And
I understand that feeling too, because like while I was in school, especially my junior and senior year, I had severe panic attacks, like crying and hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. It was like everything was just crashing in front of me. And it would happen, like same with you, Zeke, late at night, where I was like, I have to deal with this myself. I can't call my mom. I can't call my dad at 3, 4 in the morning, crying, panicking. And it's just like this whirlwind of emotions of like, everything is happening. I can't do this, I'm that, all that kind of stuff. And for me, music was also kind of not a cure-all, like you said, but like it kind of helped to like soften the blow, I guess, soften the blows.
Yes.
Yeah, just kind of like, okay, break me out of my train of thought, whatever it is, whatever crazy stuff is going on in my head, and say, okay, you're panicking. You are having a panic attack. We have to breathe. Let's listen to the music and we can breathe. And then try and go to sleep, and then we can call our parents in the morning. And that's kind of stuff really got me through some hard times. I mean, because the school I went to was really intense. And there was always this pressure to like do better and be better, even though professors were like all of my college professors were amazing, and they were willing to help. If you called them or emailed them, messaged them, they would help you. like no joke. And it was great, but I always felt like, I just had to do better and be better, and I pushed myself to the point of exhaustion, and then of course to panic when things weren't working out right, and things weren't going my way, and like oh, I'm a failure and all that kind of stuff. And
aren't emotions just dandy?
I know, right? It's like the greatest thing. And it's so dumb how your brain can just tell you all of these things and then you believe them, but the second you tell someone else, they're like, what are you talking about? That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
And you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm crazy now, I guess.
Yeah, and this leads you to think that you're wrong or something's wrong, but in actuality, it's just, they're not able to see it the way that you see it.
Your brain is just spewing out a whole bunch of garbage, which our brains just do. We can't stop it. Our brain just spews out garbage like every day of our lives, and it can be hard to like differentiate between like, what is the truth, what isn't the truth, and what is just like meaningless gargle that our brain is somehow trying to process into something we can understand.
Yeah, it's look at forms of therapy these days. There's music therapy, and there was one, I don't know how credible it is, but there was a thing a little while back. I haven't done a lot of research on this because I'm not a therapist, but there's this whole thing about nostalgia therapy and exposing yourself to things of your childhood of a simpler time is supposed to help reduce your mind state into, not everything's so terrible. And nostalgia therapy, that could be done through video games, through music, through watching. This is a bad example for me. I lost my memory as a kid, so I can't do nostalgia. I lost my memory recently, so I don't do nostalgia therapy. There's not all so much I can do nostalgia for.
Yeah.
But there's a lot there. You could watch, what's the show everyone talks about that was from when we were kids? Drake and Josh, I guess?
Yeah. That's one.
It's just one of those things that being able to make your life a little better by just remembering, oh yeah, my example, Final Fantasy X was my favorite game. Final Fantasy X, that game was the freaking best. I loved it so much. Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah. Yeah, wasn't it there for you at a very important time in your life as well?
Yes, while I was incredibly ill. I probably beat that game 13 times while I was deathly ill. And for those who are like, oh, he can't be that bad, I hear him walking and talking fine now. Well, first of all, you don't see me walking, even though you probably have on the stream once or twice. And second of all, I have had students from my past before I got really ill. I've had students look at me and go, and after I came back, I thought you had died. I've heard that said to me with a straight face. I have a thank you card in my bedroom from my students that said, Mr. Ziki, because I'm not going to use my real name, Mr. Ziki, you nearly died for us, let us nearly die for you. And I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. But it was very emotional.
I mean, yeah, the emotion is still there, nevertheless. Like,
my kids
them,
made me cry. They are the worst. Love them.
Like, you definitely know that there is definitely love in that card.
Yeah.
But that is actually pretty wild. I definitely know for me, growing up, I didn't really, like, compared to you guys, I didn't really grow up that well with music. Like, I knew music, existed and everything like that, but for me, I'd like to say that I was delayed with the media. Even though I completely had access to TV, music, and everything like that, I just really wasn't that interested in it. I didn't even have a computer until my sophomore year in high school, so I didn't even know anything about, like, memes until then. Like, when I discovered memes, I was like, oh, what is this? But growing up,
I mean, I still wish I didn't know about memes.
sometimes
Memes ruined our lives.
Memes have ruined our lives.
there are a few good
Now that's
ones.
one form of media that's interesting to talk about. Media has affected our lives, and we're talking about all the positive things that media has done.
Oh, I want to get in. We're definitely going to get into the negatives later. Right now, we're talking about how it's positively affected us, but later on, we're going to get into how it's negatively affected us.
Okay, we are going to go into.
Yeah, we are going to go into that. But I definitely know for me, I didn't have music and everything when I was going through my ships and everything. For me, it was mainly games and just myself. I didn't really care that much about different forms of media. I know for me, the thing that I clinged on to that gave me comfort when I didn't have anything, or when I was down, or having a panic attack, was Sonic. I absolutely loved Sonic growing up. It was my...
Sonic.
It was,
Oh
yeah.
my god, I forgot about that.
It was the thing that I went back to all the time, just like how some people may go to Pokemon as their comfort, or some people may go to...
I'm not trying to rag on Sonic, even though that's usually my job to rag on Sonic.
Yeah, it is.
This man here, Double here.
All right, which story are
We
you
were
going to
roommates
say?
in
Which
college.
story are you going to say? Because there's a lot of stories you can't say.
Floor 5 or floor 4, whatever we were on.
It was 4 or 5.
Okay, so we lived on the 5th floor of our building. And that floor was known across the college campus as the party floor.
People on the
I don't know
second
if you've
floor.
gotten to know us over
People
this.
on the second floor could hear people on the 5th floor partying.
It was miserable existence for those of us who really just don't party.
Yeah.
I may be a member of Greek life, but I don't party.
Waking up every morning to the recycling bins at the end of the hall being filled to the brim with beer cans and beer bottles.
And somehow they never got caught.
Yeah,
but that's not the point. This man right here decided he wanted to get revenge on our floor by waking up at 9 a.m. every day, swinging the door wide open. Not in his room, because we lived in a suite where it was my room and his room. But in my room, he would open the door, swing it wide open, put my TV on max volume, and play Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, I would play Sonic Unleashed
and annoy everyone.
No, I would
and
play.
I hated it so much.
I would play Sonic Unleashed on full blast. I'm like, all right,
Oh
you guys
my
kept me up
gosh.
last night. I'm gonna bother you today while you're studying.
See, but
That's
you would
petty.
bother us too, and we wanted to sleep.
Hey, this was
That's petty.
not at night. Or at least if
No,
it was.
this
if
was in the morning, and we wanted to sleep in.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. For when
We would do it at 9 in the morning every morning.
I don't remember doing it while you was in your room, sleep. But if I did, I apologize to you.
Oh, my other roommate was livid because he would do it while he was sleeping.
Oh, I do not remember that. Wow, I must have been real bad back then. Actually, the biggest thing that I remember from back then is when me and everyone else who was living with us, which was John and Seth, we sat in the room and we played the Sonic, Sonic X theme song, because somebody in the room next to us had a Bluetooth speaker. So we connected our phone to their Bluetooth speaker, played the theme song, and then we were just laughing so hard because we could hear it playing. Then we heard it.
I still hear you.
Then we heard them turn it off. They walked over to our room, and we had to stand there and play dumb. And it was the funniest thing, and we did it 3 times in a row.
See, but you did more than just Sonic X for that.
All right, Sonic X is the only one that I remember us playing.
No, you did some.
All right,
shall we
I
say,
didn't play it then.
Sound effects
All right, I
too.
didn't play it then. I'm the one who came up with the Sonic X thing. Somebody else must have came up with that, because I didn't think of that. But I definitely remember. What do you mean? Sure, get out of here. I hate you.
Sure.
Get out. What? Don't
If the
don't
man
agree
with bad memory remembers this, you might have a problem.
Let me remind you that the guy with the bad memory locked me in the bathroom and forgot about it.
But that's a whole other thing.
You facaded your memory into believing that you didn't do it. You remembered something that didn't happen, so I firmly believe that you could be remembering something that didn't happen right now.
That's called gaslighting, even though it's not. We're not going to get into that.
All right. All right, let's get back onto topic. I'll talk more about my experiences later. Zeke, you tell us about your media that has affected you personally. Your specific pieces of media that's affected you personally.
Haven't we already done this?
You talked about Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I talked about Nobu just being amazing.
Yeah. Is there any
Nobu? Even though you don't listen to this, I love you.
What?
And I look forward to meeting you at Otakon.
What about movies? Are there any movies that's affected you personally? Any characters?
That's a great thing. So I'm gonna be very basic and list the people that I know all too well, because they're the people that everyone knows all too well, because my brain doesn't work. Let's go to the good old John Williams, Hans Zimmer, and that whole community of composers who do everything. I cannot tell you how many times I have just sat down at work. I'm like, I can't out myself as all too nerdy, but I still want to listen to someone who I just love all too much. So I'm not going to play, for lack of a better phrase, anime music. I cannot speak.
No, you said it right at first.
It's anime
music. So I'm going to go with something good and American. Like John Williams and Star Wars and all of that. And it's really funny how a lot of people who aren't the most in tune to music are like, I did a smart thing. My brother, love him to death, not the best when it comes to music, calls me the other day and goes, Zeke, I figured something out. Something, I can't figure out what, something about Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Superman and Jurassic Park, I just feel like they're familiar somehow. And I'm like, yeah, because they're all done by the same guy. They're all John Williams pieces. And it's really funny. And I know more about John Williams than I do about anyone else, because at work I had to do this whole thing about John Williams is a hero because for some reason my students voted him to be the hero of the semester. I was so happy they did that, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to deal with doing a whole research thing about this man. So I know everything about him, and I just love him even more because he was a true musical prodigy from the age, I think he played trumpet fluently by the time he was 7. If I remember my research correctly. And he's just such a talented composer that there are still Star Wars pieces that I listen to and I'll tear up a little bit. Because Star Wars and me being a nerd, there'd be a problem if I don't love that as much as I do.
Well, there's still some that, still haven't watched Star Wars.
I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with John Williams. He is probably the most well-known composer in America. Mm-hmm. He is definitely the second most awarded person in Grammy, Emmy, Tony, that kind of stuff. Second most awarded person in the world because of that. He is second only to Walt Disney, who I also love, but for other reasons. And he just has such an impact. I love him and I want him to keep doing things, but the man needs to retire and let other people have a chance at this in life.
I mean, this man's been going hard for years.
He really has.
Okay, but give other people a chance, darn it.
Exactly. I love the man, but retire, please.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that what the Sonic community says about the people who make Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like, okay, you did a good job before, but we need new people. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, completely agree with that too. Just like at a certain
let other
point,
people have a chance.
yeah, at a certain point, it might be better to pass on the torch. Like some people can be the greatest at something, but at a certain point, either you've lost your luster or you're so great that you just need to let somebody else have a chance and see what they can do.
You can only be a goat for so long.
Yeah. Or you can just be a GOAT forever and just keep the title forever. And just have everyone else fight for it. But let's go on to our last topic for the night. Let's go on and talk about way medias have been bad. This can be go on for like memes, mistaking information for the worst, anything. I know for sure that we
I'm
need to talk.
sorry.
What?
I'm sorry, but one thing, please. I refuse to talk about fake news. I hate that term.
Yeah, let's
not even talk
avoid
about that.
Political things.
I didn't want to talk politics. I didn't want to. So
I hate that term. Stupidest term they could have ever come up with. I'm like,
I only ever use that term.
I'm gonna stop.
I only ever use that term ironically. Like if I'm just joking on something, then I'll use it. But that term is actually so funny and so stupid.
So, if I may go on a little bit of a tangent.
All right, what is that?
You, Double.
What?
You are the worst memester ever.
All right, no.
No, when I'm out and potentially on a date especially, and I get a meme on my phone in that chat, and I open it up and it was what it most recently was, I legitimately hated you.
I share the memes that I think is gonna be good.
No, that's the memes that make God want to cry.
Alright, so I have bad meme taste and search.
He has a very bad meme game, and I love him. He is an amazing friend and an even better person. But no. Just
Alright. No, you gotta admit. No, wait. I just want to say right now, you gotta admit sometimes I strike gold, but that gold is very rare.
You know how your bad post page in your Discord is much more used than good posts?
Well, because nobody posts good posts.
Exactly.
Because they know the kind of memes that you appreciate.
I appreciate both good and bad.
That's the problem.
Okay, now what's the problem? What's the problem now? You know, I could enjoy a good. I could enjoy a well-sophisticated meme, but then I can also appreciate Lost for the 58th time. You know, if it's new, if it's innovative, and it has at least 2% taste, maybe it might be good. That's all I'm saying.
2% is a really low percentage, man.
Well, okay, at least 58%.
What is this, milk?
Alright, at least it has 58% taste, you know. It's a little above half taste. But
now he's just talking about buttermilk. Like, what the heck?
Oh my god.
Buttermilk.
You know. Alright, now you guys are gonna make me want to go and bake something. So
Bake me a cake, please.
Baking is my job, man. You know I bake.
Yeah, you bake. I cook.
My coworkers want to buy my recipe from me.
Which recipe?
My bread recipe.
Bread.
Bread.
I make some really killer bread.
You
Don't
know.
tell me that. I'm
You
so
know, I
scared
haven't
that
had
have
your
to cut out
bread.
the carbs.
I haven't had your bread yet, so next time I'm up there, I'm gonna have to taste your bread.
Yeah, make sure we remind me to cook.
Yeah.
I actually think I'm making 5 loaves this weekend.
What if we combine my burgers with your bread?
My bread is not a burger bread.
Oh. Make a burger bread.
Is it at all possible for me to ask to take a quick break?
Yeah, we can take a quick break. We'll be back in a few minutes, although for you guys, it will be just a little cut.
Yep, wonderful.
I would like to take this time to tell you guys that the Playmasters demo is almost finished, so please be sure to keep an eye out for when it releases. Also, I'm still looking for voice actors for Playmasters, so if you're interested, please make sure to contact me on any of my social medias. That will be all.
We just jump right in.
Well, I already started recording, but we're starting.
Wow, okay.
We're starting.
Smorgasbordles to gobble gobble.
We're starting
We're
back.
back.
Hello, everybody. We're back to the podcast, and we're starting back from forms of media that are bad, or have had a bad impact on us. To tell you the truth, that's kind of hard for me to think about without thinking of like politics.
You know, I'll go with this one. I kind of get not very. I get a little depressed when I see like my friends spending every other weekend in a different country. I'm like, how in the world do they afford this? And in reality, it's not depression. It's just slight rage that they're able to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like, I'm happy to say I've never been the victim of cyberbullying.
You lucky man.
I mean, I'm not saying I haven't been the victim of other forms. I'm just saying cyberbullying.
I know.
But it also wasn't a big thing when we were kids. And it was starting, but it wasn't...
Yeah.
It wasn't prominent like it is now. And... I guess I can say I can see it affecting because my students have been cyberbullied.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I am so far against. It's a horrible, horrible thing.
I mean, cyberbullying has gotten so mainstream that to some people it just seems like it's not even wrong. Like some people who just go around on streams cyberbullying and constantly trolling someone.
It's the anonymity. And I like to think that us 20 plus year olds, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus year olds are mature enough to not bully. But
apparently we're not.
The anonymity of the internet allows this kind of thing.
Because I know some people just the other day going around on streams trolling and making fun of people.
Yeah,
like that are our age.
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember. If you remember during, I think it was like one of your first Jackbox.
Oh, the statements is if I remember. I already don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't ask him. But are you talking about the?
You remember I think it was like your third or fourth Jackbox stream, and you were getting people coming in like just being horrible jerks.
When they kept talking about Brexit.
Yeah, and I'm like, leave. And then I think I was like kicking someone, and then someone called me. It's like, oh, it's like DD Locks is a stupid, C word and la 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 la. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but why? What did I do to you?
Yeah, it was after that point that I was like, I gotta start paying attention to chat more.
Yeah,
because because somebody told me after the fact that someone said that to you and to my mom, and I was like, all right, I gotta start paying attention to chat more.
Are you kidding me? It's like, chill out. You can either play the game or leave.
Like either play the game, commentate on the game, talk to people in a civil fashion, or leave.
I know, right?
Or just sit there silently and watch.
Yeah, like most people do. Like most people do. But no, you just gotta be a bunch of buttholes.
Sometimes I just like being buttholes, which is very strange.
I like to think media has more upsides than downsides.
I think media has a lot of upsides, but it just depends on who's it coming from. Because
like you yourself, you're not gonna say media mogul because you're definitely not that. You're a presence in media. You have been paid in the past for doing what you do.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can get paid more in the future.
Hopefully.
But
follow me on Twitch. Just self-promotion. Need that Twitch associate, whatever it is. Keep going.
It's _D_DNL. It's not just double D.
I would have
couldn't
did
find
just
you.
Double D, but that was already taken, so I had to do Double D.
Yeah, there's a lot of double D's on Twitch, I've realized.
There's a lot of Double D's on YouTube. If you look up Double D, you don't. I'm like the 28th person on the list.
Yeah, I keep seeing like Eddie
One
or
reason why I
Ed.
really like my name is it's so weird that if there are mimics, if there are people with similar names, I'm not going to say mimics because I don't make my own content, and when I do, it'll be very few and far between. But there's just so few Zekis that I can't imagine that it would be hard to find me. Like whenever I try and play any game, I just go with the name Zeki or Scantal, which is a character I play in D&D, and I'm able to take it pretty easily. Sometimes I'll have to go Zeki 1. That's really, really rare.
Wait, when would you have had to use Zeki 1?
I think it was Final Fantasy 14, actually.
Wow, that's actually surprising. Well, a lot of people play Final Fantasy 14.
Well, sorry, it was Zeki Talati is my Final Fantasy. Come and find me.
I gotta play 14. I really want to play 14. How much is the?
It's a lot of fun once you can get past like the tutorial stuff.
How much is the subscription for that game?
It's like if you do the cheapest version, it's like $10 a month.
I might play that over the next semester.
But we're getting slightly off topic.
We definitely. It's just kind of hard to think of like specific forms that aren't like just out there.
And I could believe that the three of us in this chat, we're all rather optimistic people in life.
Yeah,
Is that safe to assume?
I'm pretty pessimistic. I think
Really?
we're gonna die.
I mean, we're all gonna die, but might as well have a rodeo.
We all are going to die, but it's about the journey that you take to that grave that matters.
Yes.
Why am I talking like this? I don't know, but that's pretty much what it means.
I mean, I want to shift it a little bit back towards positive because we clearly
don't know what we're talking about.
We've led pretty vanilla lives when it came to the media. We haven't been picked on or anything like that, and we don't want to go anywhere near politics. So, one thing that I do.
Picked on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Go for that if you would
I've
like to
been
talk
picked on.
about it.
So, okay. I used to get picked on really bad in middle school again because I was this fat girl. I was the white girl, the Oreo, whatever that means. And there was one thing that I used to be called. D, I don't know if you've been called this too at one point in your life. I've been called an African booty scratcher.
Oh, that was like something I never got called it, but I was so mad because I didn't learn about the term until I was in college, and I was so mad that I never heard that term before. Not because like I wanted to be called it, but I was mad because like I'm so like kind of far away from like my own like racial media that I don't even know what's going on. Like I learned so many like black slang terms that are used against us that I didn't even learn about until I was in college, because to me it was never a form of media like films and history and everything like that I really got into.
And that whole African booty scratcher thing was so weird because it came from a seriously obscure, I think, Ugandan movie or a movie about Uganda, and that was like a phrase that they used, and I'm like, you kids weren't even alive when this movie came out. How do you even know this term? How do you even know this? And I was just so confused because, of course, I'm African. Like, my family's from Nigeria. So I get really offended. Like, what do you mean I'm an African booty scratcher? I get, like, super offended. So, I'm like, how in the world did we even, like, get this term for, like, middle schoolers or even elementary school students? Like, some of the first times I heard that, I'm like, how did we get this?
I can confidently say I've never heard of the term. in my entire life. And I went to school with neo-Nazis, so that was fun.
It was some cockamamie thing that they would use to like make fun of other black kids, and it's like, well, we're all black. I don't understand why we're making fun of each other. Like,
oh man, that
my schools as a kid in general were very predominantly Indian.
Actually, I 100% believe it after being in the area.
Yeah, it's a very interesting area that the typical majority of the country is not even close to what the majority is in my area. It's really interesting to me. I found it always really interesting. And I know I've missed out on missed out is the wrong term, missed out on a lot of the negative terminology, such as the ones that everyone knows about, which I know the ones everyone in the world has ever heard. But it's a very interesting thing how different areas take different things, and that's from media. It's not like we would know anything about a Ugandan insult.
I know.
If it weren't for media.
Yeah, I know. If it wasn't for that movie, it wouldn't have gotten popularized to the point to where kids, nevertheless, years later, are using that. Which we know, where did they hear that term from? Heard the term from their parents, which their parents probably were the ones who watched that movie. So,
one thing that I find really interesting, though, is social media also has led to some good closure. And I certainly hope other people who have been through similar experiences that I have are able to get that kind of closure. I significantly doubt they will. But as a kid, I was bullied for being Jewish and quite vocal about it, actually.
Tom always says the story of when he first met you.
Yeah, but that was more me just being obnoxious for the sake of being obnoxious. But, like, there was a time where I was just, I'm Jewish, I don't have to deal with this. Yeah. Or something like that.
I'm Jewish, so don't...
Which, to be fair, I was trying to be counterculture, because I went to school with a lot of neo-Nazis. A lot of, like, Germany did nothing wrong, and stuff like that. And... I definitely know a few people who are Holocaust deniers in full right. I want to make this very clear. Germany as of today is not the Germany of back then. I am not ragging on current world Germany. Apparently, Germany did something terrible to my people 70 odd years ago. I'm not doing math right now, I'm tired. So clearly I have to hate them, right? I hate the people who did those acts. I just want to make sure that's clear. I don't hate Germans in general. Because for some reason people can't associate one without the other.
Yeah, there's always where there is always a group of people doing bad. It's still kind of wrong to associate it with the entirety of that race years later, or even in that time. With a certain group of individuals may do racist acts, it does not mean that the entirety of that race is racist. It just means that certain group of individuals is. I guess what I'm saying is it's wrong.
So back to my story. I went to school with people who bullied me for being Jewish, and I was really in a interesting place because luckily I had found martial arts and I had found my music and I was able to keep calm just through meditation, things like that. But I had my breaking point. 6 years of being bullied and not doing anything about it. Yeah. I reached a breaking point and I almost smashed a person's face in.
You should have done it.
I really should have.
Know. Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
My band teacher was in the room, and he was looking for an excuse to expel me because he didn't like me. That's a whole other story, though.
Yeah, I know your stories with that terrible band teacher. Look at him.
He's a horrible man.
He is just terrible.
And the guy who bullied me about a year and a half ago reached out to me on Facebook and was able to apologize to me about how close-minded and how just altogether horrible he was to me in school. And he gave me this really heartfelt apology. It was a lot of closure that helped, to be honest. I like to think of myself as a very, very non-violent person, and I reached a point of threatening bodily harm to this person because I was so sick and tired of him, and it was able to give me the closure of, even he thought I was justified in what I was doing.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to say it at the time, but he thought that I was justified, and that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I definitely...
And Lord knows our paths are never going to cross again. He was just able to find me on Facebook.
That just reminds me of just, I reached that breaking point, too, at one point, where I was just like, I'm done with this, and I just fought someone. And looking back on it, my family kind of laughs at me from time to time when we bring it back, because it was like on a bus, and the guy was crippled, but at the same time,
wow.
I was just, all right, now listen. Nobody in the school liked this kid. Nobody in the school liked him. And I had been constantly getting bullied for years at that point. I was just like, I'm done with this, put your hands up, destroy the kid. And later on, and when I even say later on, I mean a week later, he apologized and we started being kind of friends. And I was just like, well, it wasn't more or less like an apology. It was more or less like water under the bridge, I guess you could say. I didn't really agree to it, but just water under the bridge. And even going into high school, and most of the people that bullied me in middle school started becoming my friends slowly in high school. As if I was meeting them again. I never even received so much as an apology from them for making me go through some of the darker times in my school years, which was my 7th, 8th grade year. But then slowly it was like meeting them all over again in high school, making actual friends with them. So I definitely will say that it is good that she was able to, even though you guys never were to cross paths again, you were able to get that apology, because even some of my friends to this day are some of my best friends now. But back in middle school, they used to bully me pretty badly.
I'm gonna take this opportunity now, and even though I don't remember it, apologize for the bathroom incident.
Thank you. Thank you, man. It really does.
Even though I'm pretty sure I've done it or apologized for the bathroom incident again.
I think you apologized first when you finally decided to accept that you probably did it.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past me, but I still doubt that I did it.
Alright, well, here's the thing. You did it.
Okay.
And you know the worst thing about it, everybody? He did it, then forgot about it, but then everybody else who was present at the event said that, no, he didn't do it. Because they thought that he was joking, and they was just like, oh, we'll just follow along with the joke. So for a year and a half...
At the time, we did not know I was dying, but I was very seriously ill at the time.
For a year and a half, I was so sure that he did it, but internally I was like, did he actually do it? Because everybody was saying, no, that never happened. And when it finally came out, that I was just like, I called everyone out, and I was like, did he or did he not do it? And everyone was like, well, yeah, of course he did it. I was like, why didn't you tell me this before?
And that's what gaslighting actually is. People making people question their realities.
Yeah. Which
is the worst thing about the whole scenario. In complete honesty, that's a terrible, terrible thing to do. And for that, I definitely apologize for unintentionally gaslighting you, I guess would be the terminology there.
I guess. I just know that, man. I was so mad. Like,
Stuff be weird, man. Stuff be weird. Back to media.
Yeah, let's get back to our topic so we could get to our final statements or whatever. I don't know how to do a podcast. Go on.
So one thing that's really interesting to me is in college I fell in love. Well, actually, it wasn't in college. It was after I dropped out for medical reasons. But in college, I fell in love with D&D.
Oh yeah.
And it was really awesome. But I couldn't get up from my bed. I couldn't really leave my bedroom because I was deathly ill at the time. So one thing that media allowed me to do was, here's a shout out to a wonderful software called Roll20. Roll20 allowed me to play D&D with people even though I couldn't leave my room, and I wasn't about to have an entire D&D campaign run out of my bedroom. So I was able to play it on Roll20, and that was such a fabulous thing. And then as time went on, D&D kind of became popular with stuff like Critical Role and the Adventure Zone and stuff like that. It became a thing.
I was surprised.
And
when
that was amazing.
I was so surprised when it started becoming really popular amongst our friend group. Like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Oh, that was my fault.
That was you?
I got James to play D&D for the first time. And then it kind of, even though I did a terrible job of it, he was at least introduced to it. So when he started getting into it, he started running it with everyone.
All right.
And we had such an amazing experience. And now that I'm healthy, I listen to Critical Role. I have plans on starting Adventure Zone, but I'm lazy because I don't want to get confused between campaigns, all that jazz. But there's a whole lot. And it's such an amazing thing that media brings us together and allows us to do tabletop games online. Shout out to Tabletop Simulator. It's just shocking and kind of amazing how everything is the way it is. And 10 years ago, almost nothing that we've been talking about today would have been possible.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
that's so weird.
Yeah. Do you guys, I don't remember this, but I'm familiar with it. You guys remember that DSL sound when you're trying to log on to the internet? That kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
That hurts.
Get off the phone. I'm trying to use the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just kind of amazing how, media, games, TV, everything, it's evolved so much to the point where it makes it so much easier to access that media. It makes it so much easier for us to connect. And,
I mean, if you think about it, like 6-7 years ago, VR was a dream.
VR was a dream.
Yeah.
It was like virtual reality. It's like, that's not going to work. You're not going to be able to immerse people in their games like that. That's not going to work. But
you know what else was a dream? Self-drying tennis shoes. And those exist now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're extremely expensive, so no one will ever buy them. But there are tennis shoes that will dry themselves off by blowing a fan inside them.
That's why.
They exist. Look them up.
I did not know that.
Is that not awesome?
That is actually pretty awesome. Man, and all I want is for what happened in Back to the Future to happen for us to get those good old hoverboards. Let me get one of those.
I mean, we have hoverboards.
All right, no, I'm not talking about those stupid machines. Those stupid machines.
And they catch on fire.
Yep.
It was so funny when campus banned them. When I actually saw an email saying that these devices are banned, I almost lost it out of just pure laughter. I'm like, wow, these devices actually got banned. They're actually so stupid. I'm actually kind of happy because I hate walking to class and I just see someone riding on a hoverboard through crowded sidewalk. I'm like, oh my god, please.
Oh yeah, and those people that just don't care, they're busy reading their book or whatever.
And they're just...
Oh, I saw... This is a terrible thing. I wish the best for everybody. Except for people I don't. And I saw this guy riding a hoverboard while walking his dog. And I'm like, that's the laziest thing to do. You walk your dog so it is able to stay healthy and happy. And you're just like,
how can you be so lazy as to
Those are
not
the kind of
walk?
people that you're like, I hope you end up tripping and falling over your hoverboard.
Yeah, I'm like, I hope your dog sees a baseball and runs after it.
Exactly. How can you be so late? You know, I think I know exactly what happened with this guy. So I think what happened is this guy finally got his hoverboard, but then he realized, why did I buy this thing? I have nothing to use it for. So then he's like, oh yeah, I gotta walk my dog. Finally, a reason to use this hoverboard that I have no purpose for.
I sincerely hope it's that decent. But like, all the same, he bought it anyway.
Yeah.
Or someone thought, you know, Tom is enough of a person that hates everything to want a hoverboard. Shout out to Toms everywhere. But it's just so outrageous. And it just makes me cringe sometimes.
Yeah, same, man. Hell, man, that is just so stupid how some people use technology. But I think we've completely derailed for what we were talking about. We went from community, we went from media
so
to technology.
Far off topic that I don't even care anymore.
We went from media to technology. But I think
just name it media and more.
I think that we've pretty much talked about all we need to talk about. We've talked about media, how it's affected us, and the positives and negatives that it's brought. Although we didn't really talk about the negatives that much, but that's just because, you know, we don't like negatives, so we ignore it. We stiff arm it out of our lives.
No, negatives are important to acknowledge.
I mean,
I wouldn't say we stiff arm it. We acknowledge it and move on.
Yeah, that's true. You still do acknowledge it.
Like, I fully acknowledge that a solid 3 years of my life went down the toilet.
I solidly acknowledge that a whole 2 years of my life went down the toilet. Or at least a year and a half, to be more specific. But I think we should end this video. Zeke, do you have any thing you want to say to the audience?
I am allergic to pineapple.
You are?
Woo.
Yeah.
Did not know that. Wait, I think I did know that, but I forgot.
Great.
Do you have anything else that you want to say?
See, now I'm okay with locking you in the bathroom.
You better not.
Like, apology rescinded.
Exactly.
See, is there anything else you want to say?
In media is a very potent tool, and as long as people are able to use it positively, ignore the cyberbullying, ignore the just hate in the world, because there's too much hate in the world to let it overtake. Spread the love. Embrace what you love. And that's what the internet is truly meant for. And I know people are going to be like, oh my god, he's one of those people. Whatever. I do what I love.
For sexual activities.
I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Craigslist exists for a reason.
Hey, Craigslist is for more than just that. You know, you can buy a good TV off Craigslist. I'll have you know, a good TV, a good sofa, a good refrigerator. I got a refrigerator off Craigslist one day.
Yeah, but that's not what it's predominantly for.
I guess so. I haven't really used Craigslist that much. Didi, do you have Anything you want to say before we end this? Any plugs? Any last statements?
Oh, I can plug myself?
Yeah, if you want.
Oh, heck yeah. So I'm an artist, guys. Like I said, like 13 million times during this whole podcast. So you should come to my channel and, look at my stuff and buy my work because I make art and I make all sorts of nice things.
And it's amazing art, too. You guys should definitely go check that out. In fact, click on that eye right now in the corner and go to her channel and look at her art right now. Go look at her speed paints. Amazing.
And also, media in itself is something that we as humans have created, and it's really up to us what we do with it and, how it affects us. So, whether it's music, printed media, television, even this podcast is media. It all affects us in a way that, in different ways, and we kind of just have to be in control of that and not let all the negative BS get us down. We gotta fight the power, guys. Fight the power.
Fight the power.
And if you enjoyed this, just leave a comment in the comment section saying, "Yeah, come on, Tom."
Yeah.
Tom.
Like, share, and subscribe to Double D's channel.
Yes.
Oh, that's one thing I refuse to ever say.
What? How dare you? I thought you were one of...
Not
my guardian.
To just you. Not to just you. I will support people and go, hey, check this out. But everyone ever says like, share, and subscribe, or like, subscribe, and whatever. I'm just like, it's so oversaid.
I know.
Back in media. It's such an overused statement in this form of media that I have a very bold refusal to say those exact words. I will say, hey, come on. You can give this a like if you enjoyed this. Or, hey, leave a comment saying, yeah, come on, Tom. Or whatever. Yeah. Like, that's great. You enjoy it. If people these days are smart enough to know, I really enjoy this stuff, I'm going to subscribe to it. I really enjoy this stuff, I'm going to leave a like. People are smart enough to do that these days. I don't think it's necessary to be saying that.
I guess it's the same mindset as like when your parents tell you to do the dishes, even though you were going to do the dishes. It's like, now I don't want to do the dishes.
Yeah, and then you're like, a week later, you're like, all right, now I'm ready to do the dishes now.
Yeah, you get me? You see where I'm coming from there?
I get you. Yeah.
All right, how about this? We'll rephrase it to, if you like the video, go on ahead and give it a like. If you like my face, if you like my voice, because I don't subscribe, how about that?
If you tolerate me, come back for more.
Yeah, if you think that I'm a cool guy, you think I'm a decent guy, you may come back to another video. I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess I'll be doing a few more of these type of videos, just podcast, I guess, like this. Sometimes having guests on, like good old Zeke and Didi. Not sure what the next one is going to be on, but you guys sure should be ready for it. Please, my
disdain for pineapple and everything. Why does it have to be in barbecue sauce?
What are you talking about?
There are a lot of barbecue sauces that have pineapple in them. And I hate it. I have to check everything.
Because...
If it makes you feel any better, Zeke, I'm allergic to pineapple soda.
You're... Really?
Yes. Because it has coconut water in it, or coconut flavoring, whatever other coconut nonsense.
Well...
That I'm allergic to.
If it makes you any more better, if I eat a Slim Jim, I die. You've seen it too. You've seen it too, Zeke.
You don't die. You just get severely uncomfortable.
I get severely uncomfortable, and I feel like my stomach is gonna implode. My face feels like it's on fire, and my throat kind of swells up.
Oh, those are all things I'm familiar with.
So yeah, if I eat a Slim Jim, I feel like I'm on the verge of death. I guess that's better to say. But yeah, let's go on ahead and end the stream. In the comments below, type what is your medias that has affected you on a personal level, or what medias do you feel is bad, and let's keep.
And what are your emotions on hoverboards?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty consensus thing of they suck, but there's always the outliers, the contrarians. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video and our stream, whatever is the next thing on this channel. And I love you guys. Talk to you later once I return.
Huh. I guess this is my first end card. It's kind of weird to tell you the truth. Well, I just wanted to tell you guys, you know, look at the links on the screen. One will take you to the Derek video that I did a few days ago, and the other one will take you to the Playmasters voice acting information. So please, I implore you, if there's one of the two, if you had to click on one of those videos, I would say click on the Playmasters one. I really need voice actors, so please, if you can help me out, it would be great. And I'll see you guys next time. Yeah. Bye.